Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate, presented by the Cisneros Realty Group at Keller Williams, servicing the New Hampshire Lakes and White Mountains regions. Today's show is sponsored by Blue Water Mortgage, Summit Title, and Allstate Insurance, the Joe Suazo office in Derry, New Hampshire. Time to join our host and Let's Talk Real Estate on 101.5 WEEI Sports Radio, Lakes Region.
And we're back, this time with one of my favorites, Jonathan Ferrante, loan officer with Blue Water Mortgage. So, Jonathan, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me again.
And where is the bow tie?
And, it's a little rainy today, so it wasn't really a bow tie kind of day.
Okay, well, still a nice tie. Well, okay. This topic is a bit nerve-wracking. So we're under agreement. We have a contingency for inspections. We have a contingency for financing, and within that contingency, there is the appraisal. So what happens when the property does not appraise? Tell us.
This one's a tough one, especially coming into the hot summer market. Most of us professionals are almost used to this kind of problem at the beginning of summer. The market gets high, people are competing over houses, and they get into bidding wars, which push some of these prices up. You get these new listings with people thinking they can make a couple extra, maybe 10% on their listing it higher than they know it's worth. And like we talked about on previous segments, is the appraisal is kind of the end-all be-all for the deal as far as what the cost is going to be. You realtors do a very, very good job doing market analysis and coming up with a price for your sellers. However, there has to be a third party that comes in and gives us a number to go off of.
Right.
When that number comes in significantly lower than what we're under contract for, there can be problems.
Now, what is significantly lower?
So it all comes back to, on the lending side, a loan to value. When you buy houses, it's kind of the reverse of a down payment when you say loan to value. So when you say a 5% down payment, that means a 95% loan to value. That 5% down payment takes out that value. So it all depends on going into the deal, knowing and understanding the product you're using, and if there's any cushion built in there by your lender for situations like this.
So as a realtor, I've been in this situation before. We get the news from the lender, the property did not appraise. Jonathan, is there anything the lender can do?
Yes, sometimes depending on the loan product and the situation, a lot of times our buyer can correct the difference with more cash down, or depending on their product.
But that's not the lender. That's the buyer putting more cash down. But what can the lender do? So
what we would do on our own would be pivot to a different product that maybe allows for a lower down payment to correct that loan to value issue.
Ah, okay. That's pretty creative, right? That's a good thing.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing one right now where the contract actually waived the appraisal contingency, kind of because they knew they were listed high. The buyer was okay with that. It came in about $8,000 too low, and the buyer was ready to bring more to the table. We also switched his product so that he wasn't getting beaten up as badly with mortgage insurance.
All right, so that's something that the lender can do. So yes, so when it happens to me, when it happens to one of my clients, we've got to go back and say, look, the property did not appraise. Would you like to continue, or would you like to terminate the purchase and sale? If you want to continue, we got to go back and renegotiate. Maybe the buyer needs to come up a little bit. The seller needs to come down a little bit. But usually there's a clause that a good realtor will put in the contract that says that if the property did not appraise, then buyer and seller have 48 hours to renegotiate. And if they can't come to terms, then at the election of the buyer can cancel the agreement and get his deposit back.
Definitely. And that's why our jobs are so important, because in this market is definitely buyer beware. And these are the things that we do to protect our buyer, because unless it's some kind of specialty waterfront property, most of the time a buyer doesn't want to pay more for a house than what it's worth.
I totally understandable. Now, the appraisal issue goes away if it's a cash buyer, correct?
Not always. Sometimes a cash buyer can choose to have that appraisal. As far as financing goes, a lender's always going to require it. Every now and then we do get appraisal waivers. Most of the time that's when there's a significant down payment or the file is so strong that they're not seeing any risk in that area.
Jonathan, you always say that this is a team sport. I totally agree with you. Realtor and lender working together for the best interest of our clients. So what else can we do together, do you think?
So as a team, what's very common is we can actually contest the appraisal. On my end, I might be going after paperwork and things like that, like they didn't fill this out correctly. On your end, you might be providing stronger, more related comps for that house, and maybe we're disagreeing with one of them. And by moving that bad comp out and maybe sliding a stronger, better priced one in, as well as me double checking their paperwork, we might get a whole new appraisal report, or we might just get a correction in price.
And this actually happened to me once. I've been involved in more than 239 transactions in the past 5 years.
Wow.
Once we contested the appraisal against all odds, and the appraisal came back corrected.
Beautiful.
To our shock.
Well, that's our goal.
And what happened is that the house that we submitted to be included in the new appraisal had actually not closed in time for the previous appraisal. But once it had closed, then it confirmed the purchase price of that house.
Well, and that's a perfect example that every deal is different, and that's why we have to have all eyes on each deal.
Jonathan, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
It was a pleasure to be here again.
Will you promise me that next time you'll come with a bow tie?
If there's not a bow tie, there'll be something special.
Okay, good. All right. Join me next Saturday morning at 8:30 a.m. for another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate, where we share with you important information that will help you with either buying or selling your home. And if you or someone you know is looking to purchase a new home or sell, call me at 603-273-6160 for a free market valuation of your home. You can also visit our website at nhlakeshomes.com. And breaking news, you can now subscribe to the podcast of this show on iTunes and Google Play, and see our show on YouTube or on our Facebook page. Mi casa es su casa, and my name is Karina, like the song Karina Karina. Until next week, play my song.
Karina, Karina.
Let's Talk Real Estate is presented by the Cisneros Realty Group and sponsored by Blue Water Mortgage, Summit Title, and Allstate Insurance, the Joe Suazo office in Derry, New Hampshire. Let's Talk Real Estate is a production of Modern Media LLC, CRG TV, and MR Strategic Alliance LLC, all rights reserved. Join us every Saturday morning at 8:30 and Let's Talk Real Estate with Karina Cisneros, Realtor, on WEEI 101.5 Sports Radio Lakes Region.